came time to choose inquiry projects, my parents were reasonably liberal, or rather, consumed by the impending doom of my leaving them for a 28-day period. Therefore, the choice was thoroughly my own. Early into my second week, I was having what is commonly known as a mid-project crisis, where the existential meaning of my project was utterly lost to me. Why is it that when my peers were researching topics of high depth, I was sitting here sewing like an 1800s Chinese housewife? What is my project worth to society, and how am I contributing to the future? Why did I not choose traditional Chinese medicine? And then, a wild epiphany appeared. While searching quite desperately for sources, people often told me things like, people don't really embroider anymore. Only old people with nothing to do embroider. Or, please leave my shop. Joking. I had come to realize that I was working to preserve an aspect of my culture, to blow vehemently at the dying flames of a 5,000-year-old civilization that took pride in being scholarly and intellectual, and at times plain esoteric. I was fighting to save something beautiful that would soon be lost. So it'd be worth it. I wasn't planning on becoming a doctor anyways. Happy Embroidery was where I spent most of my time here in Shizuo, an embroidery house aimed at spreading Chinese culture and educating students who wish to carry on the practice. In order to investigate the vocation of a local embroiderer, one must consider lifestyle, finance, and techniques. A happy embroidery employee sews an average of 2 to 3 pieces per year, working approximately 5 hours a day, arriving at 8:30 in the morning by bike or motorcycle and departing at 5 in the afternoon. I was told that shoulders and eyes hurt immensely after long periods of needlework, and that sewers cope by doing various exercises and stretching. My sources claim that whether an embroiderer is skilled or not is defined by whether they can sit for the grueling long hours. They rest habitually every 2 hours of sewing for approximately an hour, and must apply cream 4 to 5 times a day for their work not to be disturbed, disrupted, or affected by dry fingers. Most girls arrive at Happy Embroidery with a basic knowledge of embroidery and sewing, for children are often taught by their mothers or grandmothers to sew at the tender ages of 5 to 12, depending on the child and family. This, they explain, is because in villages such as these, one must always know how to mend their own clothing, and from there, they learn to create the brilliant pictures and patterns people call embroidery. I was told that Happy Embroidery employees are generally given 80 to 90% of the profit as commission when one of their pieces are sold in the gallery. Pieces that are the most well-received are ones that depict pictures with strong Asian influences, such as pandas, lilies and lotuses, bi-minority women, and others. Embroidered pieces, to my surprise, are not priced by the size of the item, but the time it takes to be completed. The most expensive piece currently in Happy Embroidery is priced at 180,000 RMB and took 3 years to finish. The least expensive pieces are priced at 150 or 200 RMB. These take approximately 20 days or more to complete. Happy Embroidery pieces are not only created by the girls working there. Staff often assign pieces to willing embroiderers and will place finished needlework in the gallery to be sold. The one thing that astonished me in my first couple days of sewing was the technique embroiderers use to knot the silk threads when finished. Dissimilar to the system I was taught as a toddler by my mother, the traditional method used here ensures that the back of the piece is not a mess of various sailor-like knots. See those? Those are silkworm cocoons. Though Happy Embroidery staff are not personally responsible for unraveling silk cocoons, they do boil them. This process takes 4 to 5 hours and will result in warm carcasses trapped within the cocoon, ready to be unraveled. I was told that all their embroidery is done with silk because silk is soft and easy to manipulate. Furthermore, it possesses a singular shine unparalleled in the embroidery thread game. It is also extremely useful when sewing facial expressions and/or features. Cotton cannot do any of the above. When sewing, silk is braided and knotted. One must pull out a single thread, then split it into halves, or fourths, or sixths, and in some rare cases, eighths, depending on how intricately and delicately they intend to sew their piece. One day, during my second lesson at Happy Embroidery, the act of sewing suddenly clicked in my mind and I reached a sudden, unexpected burst of enlightenment. Sewing is a methodic pattern of ups and downs and lefts and rights. It is not so machine-like that every stitch is the same, but it is not so messy that everything is done without rules. Stitches must vary in longs and shorts. They cannot all begin and end in the same place. This is what makes embroidery look natural. This is the picture my teachers had to draw for me in order for my befuddled brain to understand. You see, stitches have to be made like so, varying in beginnings and ends, never precisely the same. I knew I wanted to create a final piece as an aspect of my final project. I had to master techniques such as Schiesshalten, which requires making constant elongated X's to create the illusion of fur, and it was a lovely, rewarding experience. This is my final project, the result of my work in Shiso and my one great accomplishment in life. I chose the wolf crest because to me, it symbolized the wild and how beautiful it could be, how majestic and august. I used a total of 3 different techniques to complete this, evident when looking closely at how the moon, tattoo patterns, and wolf are contrasted. More towards the end of my project, I was taken to meet an elderly woman by the name of Ryane, who sews often in her own home, selling children's shoes to enthusiastic customers. I felt as though I had a special connection with her, and the moment I thread her needle for her with ease and comfort when she couldn't, and seeing the respect and pleasure in her eyes, was one of the best this trip. From my study of the lifestyle, finance, and techniques of an embroiderer, I learned many things. I learned from my investigation more about myself. I have witnessed myself change into someone who has the capacity to be quiet and steady at times, and dynamic and loud as well. I am so much more than I thought I was a month from today, and it was because of embroidery, and how it opened my eyes.